Hello, my people. Good day to you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time zone you're listening to this, thank you for tuning in every single day to listen to me on Daily Mind Shift. My name is Michael Ujola for Mindset Transformation Africa. And on today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about influence. Let me anchor today's episode on this statement. You know you have influence when your absence has a presence. Make a notable difference in other people's lives today. You know you have influence when your absence has a presence. Make a notable difference in others' lives today. I want you to pause for a moment and think about this. What happens when you are not in the room? Do people miss you, or do they breathe a sigh of relief? Do they feel the absence of your energy, your contributions, your encouragement, or does life go on as though you never mattered in the first place? That is the heart of today's thought. You know you have influence when your absence has a presence. So make a notable difference in others' lives today. Let's talk plainly, all right? Can we? Okay. Influence is not about popularity. It is not about titles. It is not about how loud your voice is or how many people follow you on social media. True influence is measured in the invisible ways your life lingers in the lives of other people. Influence is that moment when a colleague that is faced with a hard decision remembers something you once said and they choose wisely. Influence is when your child, even in your absence, hears your voice echoing in their conscience, guiding their next step. Influence is when your friends feel strengthened just by the memory of how you showed up for them in the past. See, real influence doesn't need your constant presence. It survives distance. It survives time. It survives silence. That is real influence. See, have you ever walked into a workplace where someone recently left, either moved on to a new job or passed away, and you could still feel their imprint, all right? The way systems run smoother because of their discipline, the way people reference them in conversations, the way the energy shifts because that person is no longer there. That's absence having a presence. That is absence having a presence. See, it is not about being irreplaceable. Nobody is irreplaceable. It is about being unforgettable. When people cannot ignore that you once mattered, then you have lived well. Let me repeat that. When people cannot ignore that you once mattered, then you've lived well. Now, the opposite is also true. All right. Some people leave a room and the atmosphere instantly brightens because their presence was heavy. Their presence was toxic. Their presence was draining. So their absence feels like freedom. That too is influence, but the wrong kind of influence. The question is, what or which kind of absence will your presence create? See, influence is not something you stumble into accidentally. No. It is shaped in small daily choices. I want you to ask yourself the following questions. Do I make people feel seen? Do I add value to conversations, or do I just take up space? Do I encourage or do I discourage? Do I leave people with hope or with heaviness? Every interaction is a deposit or a withdrawal from the emotional bank account of other people. You are either building trust or depleting it. You are either adding light or casting shadows. And one day, when you are absent, whether for an hour, a day, or forever, people will feel the weight of what you constantly deposited, of what you consistently deposited. See, we sometimes think influence requires grand gestures, but let me remind you, it is the small acts multiplied over time that create a presence that is powerful enough to be felt in absence. The teacher who took time to explain when others gave up. The mentor who asked the right question at the right moment. The friend who called when you were too low to reach out. The stranger who smiled and reminded you that humanity still has kindness. None of these things make headlines, okay? But years later, they echo. Influence is built not in the spotlight, but in the quiet corners of everyday life. Let me shift this towards leadership for a moment, all right? If you are in charge of a team, a family, or even a community, this is the truth I want you to go with. You cannot measure your success only by how things go when you are present. The real test is how things function when you are not there. If everything collapses in your absence, you might have control, but you don't have influence. Influence empowers people to carry the torch forward without you needing to grip it tightly. That is why leaders who hoard attention, who make everything about themselves, who fail to build capacity in other people, they may appear strong, okay, but their absence will reveal weakness. Great leaders walk themselves out of the center stage so that their absence is not a collapse, but a reminder of the foundation that they built. See, let's bring this closer and a little bit personal. In relationships, absence speaks loudly. If your absence makes your partner, your friends, your family feel relieved, that means your presence was a burden. But if your absence makes them long for your return, it means your presence was life-saving. Here's the hard question I want you to go with today. If you went silent today, if you stopped showing up, who would actually feel the weight of your absence? And more importantly, what would that weight feel like to them? Would it feel like oxygen missing from the air, or would it feel like a storm cloud finally drifting away? See, now, let me ask this. How do you now develop the kind of influence that makes your absence meaningful in the right way? The first thing I will advise is live with intentionality. Don't just drift through your days. Speak words that matter. Act with purpose. Decide the kind of legacy you want to leave, even in small moments. And then practice consistency. Influence is not built in one big moment. It is built in patterns. Be someone others can rely on, whose character doesn't change with moods. Then serve people genuinely. When you help without expecting repayment, people don't just remember what you did, they remember how you made them feel. Listen to people deeply. See, influence is less about what you say, it's more about how you make other people feel, especially if they feel heard by you. People trust those who listen. People trust those who listen. And stay authentic. Be original. Stay authentic. Pretending creates temporary admiration, but never lasting influence. Realness creates a presence that sticks for almost eternity. Here's something that I believe is remarkable about influence. It doesn't stop with the person directly affected. Influence ripples over time. The child who feels believed in by a parent grows to become a confident adult. The employee who feels valued by a boss becomes the kind of leader who values other people. The friend who feels loved becomes the kind of person who spreads love. And all of this can trace back to your presence. Even if they never mentioned your name, that ripple is how absence continues to speak. Let's go a little bit deeper as I tie this episode up. Influence doesn't just outlast moments, it outlasts lifetimes. The greatest legacies in history are built not on wealth, not on power, but on influence. Your life will be measured not by the possessions you gather, but by the imprint you leave. One day, your absence will become permanent. And the question will not be what you accumulated, but what you gave, who you touched, and how you made life richer for other people. See, so today, this is the mind shift I want you to carry. Don't just live to exist. Live to influence. Don't just pass through spaces unnoticed. Leave a mark of kindness, of wisdom, of encouragement, and of truth. Make your presence so life-giving that your absence speaks volume. Because whether you realize it or not, people will remember you in one way or another, all right? You will be missed, or you will be forgotten. You will be remembered warmly or bitterly. You will leave people longing for more of your presence, or they will be thankful that your absence has created relief. And you have the power right now to decide which one it will be. One day your name will be spoken in past tense. One day someone will reference you in a